another episode of Gateway to Profits, the show featuring business analysis, resources, and expert interviews to help your business reach its profit potential. I'm Josh Turner, and as always, this episode of Gateway to Profits is brought to you by GatewayCFO.com. Sign up for the newsletter at GatewayCFO.com to receive your free copy of the Cash Flow Clarity System, an in-depth tutorial that shows you exactly how to get in front of your cash flow issues, begin proactively managing your business finances. This isn't some fluff-filled ebook. It's a down-and-dirty how-to manual and template that walks you step by step through the process of getting your cash flow under control. Today, I'm really glad to have Melanie Reed with us. She has some really unique insight into collection practices that can help you improve cash flow, whether you're a solopreneur or running a very large organization. Melanie is with TransWorld Systems, a collection agency that provides businesses with better tools for accounts receivable, debt recovery, and past due accounts. TransWorld has collected over $6 billion over the past decade from more than 60,000 clients. Their clients include small businesses all the way up to Fortune 500 companies, and you can learn more about them at TransWorldSystems.com. Melanie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
You bet. And I'm excited to talk with you because I know from working within many small businesses that the collections process is often an area of pain and confusion.
Yes.
And your website says that your company is redefining the collection industry by providing businesses with better tools for recovering debt and past due accounts. What are you guys doing that is redefining or different than what business owners might be accustomed to?
Well, what business owners are typically accustomed to when they work with a collection agency is that it's going to be a percentage-based situation, that they're going to work the account internally for as long as possible before turning it over to a collection agency because they don't want to give up that percentage. The problem is receivables depreciate over time rather rapidly. For example, 1 out of 4 accounts after 90 days is uncollectible. By the time it reaches 6 months, 70% of the accounts are uncollectible. And that's typically where people are using a collection agency, is at that point where they're 6 months old and they've tried and tried, and they have decided to go with a third party. The problem with that is twofold. One, the collection agency works on a percentage, so the balances that are $50 or $100 or $200 are not attractive to them. They're going to work the $5,000 balances and then may call the smaller balances once or twice. Mm-hmm. The way that we do it that is so different is we automate the system. We take the human element of call reluctance out of the scenario. And we do that in a number of different ways. We have traditional collections, but that's actually the last stage of what we do.
Okay.
Prior to that, we have what's called profit recovery. And in that, it's a flat fee service that's $15 or less per account. It doesn't matter what the size of the balance is. So if it's $50 or $50,000, it's still only going to cost that business owner $15 to get it collected. And actually, that $15 can go down based on volume. So we have some clients that pay $10 an account.
Okay.
And what we do for that during profit recovery is provide that third-party influence. And that's the missing ingredient, is knowing that someone else is involved in the situation. That raises the level of intensity. We also have it on an automated system. So they're going to get 5 demands, and they're spaced 10 days apart. Even prior to that, we rolled out a new service, I guess it was about 1.5 years ago, called Accelerator. And in Accelerator, we provide businesses with a way to contact their clients multiple times at a controlled cost without alienating their customers. And we contact them in that business owner's name. So say if it was Joe the plumber that had someone who hadn't paid him, and he's already sent 1 invoice. Yeah. Rather than sending another invoice and then waiting 30 days, I mean, what happens if you wait 30 days?
Right.
Nothing. Because it's not like your cell phone that can get turned off. It's not like your ESPN, which are priorities to people. People are going to pay what's a priority to them. But if their toilet's not overflowing, it's not a priority.
Sure.
So what we do is increase the priority of that Joe the plumber's bill by increasing the frequency of the contact. So rather than sending one statement every 30 days, we contact the client on Joe the plumber's behalf 5 times in 30 days by mail and by phone.
Okay. And do you do that at what point do you, is that at the 90-day period, after the 30 days? When do you go to that level?
After the business owner has sent 1 or 2 requests for payment, whether they're statements, letters, or phone calls,
Gotcha.
then they implement the accelerator. And
Yeah.
then we contact them on the owner's behalf 5 times in 30 days. The statements look like they're coming from the plumber. Even the phone caller ID looks like it's from him. And
Right.
if that person, while they're on the phone, presses 1, it'll directly connect to the owner of, or whoever that business is. So,
Gotcha.
and then, because they're in these stages where it's an automated system, they can stop, start, cancel, make arrangements, do whatever they would typically do.
Yeah.
They maintain control of the accounts, so they're not having to turn it over. So we're seeing clients and businesses turn their accounts over to this system sooner and getting higher recovery and getting more of it sooner.
Yeah, right. So the flat fee of $15 per account, is that when you say per account, does that mean per invoice?
No, we contact them 5 times
Okay.
for that $15.
Right. And that's, so let's say that that plumbing contractor has a client who he does a lot of repeat business for, and he has 5 invoices that are outstanding. Is that considered one account?
Yes.
Okay, I understand. Gotcha. So when you guys go into companies, usually I'm sure it's because there's some pain there, where they've got some past due accounts and they're not having a lot of luck collecting, and they're looking for an expert to come in and help them improve that.
Right.
Now, what kind of problems do you see a lot of times when you come into those situations?
I think the biggest thing that businesses could do to help themselves would be to have a process and a plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then to actually do it.
Right.
Right. This is not a pleasant part of doing business.
Yep.
But it is necessary. And with the current economy, it's even more necessary.
Right.
So having a plan in place, having a system in place is the key.
Right. Yeah, I can certainly relate to that, because a lot of businesses I worked with at one point or another, their collection process is very loose. And so anytime there's an issue, they're reinventing the wheel. There's meetings that last a half hour in which, the owner and the bookkeeper and the general manager and the project manager are talking about how best to handle this situation. Because
Right.
they're not only thinking what's the best way to get the money, but they also have to balance that with the client relationship.
Exactly.
And not upset, not rock the boat too much, while at the same time still getting paid, because that's what they deserve to have done. And so from that point, a lot of times after that pain goes on and on for a while, they'll put together, a Word document that's got a little process of sorts where they'll talk about, this is how we're going to handle our accounts receivable, and we're going to have this meeting once a week to review it, and then we're going to delegate responsibilities. But the main thing is what you said is then actually do it. And I think that's equally as big a problem as just having a process, because companies will try and put processes in place, and then things just fall through the cracks and don't get done.
Sure. It's human nature to avoid pain.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
We also don't want to cause other people discomfort. But at the same time, if you let something go, then you end up creating an emotional attachment to a debt.
Right.
Where if you are proactive and ask for the money politely, persistently, and consistently,
Right.
you will get paid.
Right. So that kind of leads us into my next question for you is, you've shared a lot about the way that your company does business, the way that you go about collecting, and some of your methodologies. For business owners that listen to that and think, I'm going to implement some of those things into my business, is that feasible to do?
Let me say that it's possible,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if a business owner should be doing it.
Right.
Or if a business can't, why not outsource it?
Right.
It's still completely in that business's control. And the service that I can do it cheaper, faster, and more successfully.
Right.
So although you may have somebody who's a go-getter within the company, what if that person goes and you don't have a process in place?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, you can compare it really to all sorts of different functions within a business. It's a CPA, for example. Could a business owner learn accounting and learn processes and try and do their tax work on their own? Yeah, anybody can do their own tax work.
It's going to take a lot longer.
And you're probably not going to get the best result.
And I don't really know any business that is successful that can contact every single one of their past due accounts 5 times a month.
Right. No, that just doesn't happen.
No.
I mean, I'll see sporadically with some of the businesses I work with that on a really big time problem account that they will have some sort of contact once a week for a time period. But to have a system where every account over X days old gets that kind of attention, that just doesn't happen.
No.
So I can definitely see the value there. I've used demand letters in the past to get things moving with problem receivables, and I recommend my clients do this too, because you can put together kind of a fancy looking letter that almost looks like the kind of letter an attorney would send out, and sending that to a client is kind of a last resort, but then they look at it and think, wow, this is really serious. It gets their attention.
Okay.
Is that something that you guys do, and what has been your experience with the best way to handle very delinquent accounts where it's almost to the point where you're going to take it to the legal route, but you want to try one last thing?
Then, that is why implementing a third party would be a good step. If you recall, I was talking about the profit recovery, and that contacts them as a collection agency 5 times in a 50-day period of time. And the first one says, we realize this could be an oversight on your part, is really soft touch, but it also establishes this has been sent to you by a collection agency, and it identifies that a third party has gotten involved. And I think that is the key when something has gone past due, is you need to get a third party involved, because if they've thrown away your second statement and your third statement, what do you think they're doing with your fourth?
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So you mentioned earlier 1 out of 4 accounts after 90 days is uncollectible. Do you have any data from your company's history that shows kind of the sort of improvements that are made within businesses that engage with TransWorld?
Sure. We have reports that we can print out. They're available to the client 24 hours a day. And I can think of 2 in particular that have used the system properly and have had incredible results. One is a CPA firm.
Okay.
When we first started working with them, they were using the profit recovery side. We had to do some cleanup on some older accounts. Once we got that cleaned up, we went back and we said, okay, so how are your processes going forward? What are you going to do so that we don't get into these situations again in the future? So they implemented Accelerator. In profit recovery, they were getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of those accounts responding and paying.
Okay.
Once they went over to Accelerator, 94% of the accounts are responding and paying, so that only 6% end up even having to use the collection side.
Wow. Wow, those are impressive numbers. So you mentioned the profit recovery site. And it sounds like a lot of your system is automated. How does a business owner actually work in it? Do they log in and enter new accounts that need attention? How does it work from a technical standpoint?
Yes, that's exactly how it works. They receive a username and password that's exclusive to each user within their company. And they go in and they give us 5 pieces of information: name, address, phone number, how much is owed, and the date of the debt.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's all we need to go forward. And if they have a lot of them, we can do it in an upload, like from a spreadsheet. If they have just a few, they can do them one by one into the system. It's very user-friendly.
Gotcha. So I think that you've given everybody a lot of information here about ways that they can think about improving their collection process and thus improving cash flow. So for business owners that are interested in improving in these areas and realize that they can't do it all themselves, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can call my office. The number is 618-343-1581. Or email me. It's melanie.reed@transworldsystems.com.
Great. Well, Melanie, I really appreciate it. Once again, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
That's our show for today. Again, please visit TransWorldSystems.com to learn more about how Melanie's company can help you improve cash flow and reduce bad debts. As always, be sure to visit GatewayCFO.com to receive your 100% free copy of the Cash Flow Clarity System so you can begin to proactively manage your company's finances. I'm Josh Turner. I'll see you next time.